should we start about the complaints and kind of obvious bits, and then we'll get into our more thoughts and feelings about it?
Okay. I mean, I have one complaint,
Okay.
and I mean the asterisk in itself, I'm sure, is something you will want to discuss as a complaint. I'm kind of just like, I mean, I kind of expected what it was. I actually annoyingly got that spoiled, though it wasn't really a spoiler because I was like, oh, I already kind of knew this was going to be the case.
Yeah, we'll absolutely discuss the marketing decision made around it, and I do get it, but it was dumb as shit.
Oh yeah,
Um,
like not even waiting until the end of the weekend was wild.
mhm.
But I mean, okay, so my complaint, there's only one thing that I think they messed up with,
Okay, lay it on me.
and it's
You
to
watch this be the
do.
thing I love the most.
I don't. I think you'll be on a similar wavelength with me. Overall, I loved everything about like how they handled the void and it being like the embodiment of the people's trauma. Like it, like was their trauma swallowing them.
Mm-hmm.
I really loved the whole room thing and like basically they had to relive their traumas and moving from room to room. The disappointing thing was we didn't see any of the other Thunderbolts rooms. I think the reason it worked so well and like it really helped us fall in love more with like Yelena's character and really connect a lot more with Bob Sentry because we saw some of those things that like their trauma and their like the rough side of it, which was like a major story point in this film. I think they left a lot on the table to really connect us to the other characters by not showing us at least one room. Like they showed us them figuring out maybe we need to step into the void, maybe there is a reason to it, and then we just get them appear later in the room with Bob and Yelena. Like there's a missed opportunity there to show us the agent. Like he could have had a room of like his vision is like him watching himself beat that person, like to kill that person, and like from and like get to see it from an outside perspective of the one thing that absolutely ruined his name and how he like faced that. We could have seen Bucky. I would have loved to see Bucky end up in a room which is him facing himself as Winter Soldier, but like it's okay for him in a way. Like he finds it easy to deal with that because he did the whole stuff in Wakanda. And it's like they could have then shown his have been like, oh, he just immediately was like focused on the things he learned in Wakanda and he gets through his room really quickly. Like that could have been fine. And then like Red Guardian, we could have had a fun opportunity to actually learn a bit more about like his background and something he went through rather than him just being the jokey guy all the time. Like, because he's clearly hiding trauma. Obviously,
I get why you feel that way to an extent. I do slightly disagree, and I think they did film it, they said, and they had scripts written for it. Actually, they might not have filmed it. They had scripts written for that exact idea, and it didn't make the cut for whatever reason. I think it's a good thing it didn't make the cut, and I do have some reasons for that. Bucky's trauma doesn't need to be revisited. We've had 2 whole films and a TV show seeing Bucky working through his trauma.
I get that.
I think the only way I would have been okay with the equivalent of that for Bucky would have been if it would have been showing how far he's come through therapy and stuff to the point where he literally is like, I'm at peace with this. It can't get to me. Because that would have then been showing that you can overcome your demons. And it can be like, you have overcome them and beaten them. So I would have been okay with it being done that way, but actually revisiting his trauma, I think would have been rehashed. John Walker's we kind of already saw earlier in the film, as they were leaving the... Because it's the same thing we saw with Yelena earlier.
Yeah.
In her first room was the thing we saw earlier. So I think that was their way of handling John's stuff. Although people won't really remember it, Ghost's stuff was handled in... Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like, we saw a lot of her stuff. I know a lot of people won't remember that film, but we did see a lot of her trauma there. Red Guardian's the only other character I think we could have added something to. But I think the bigger reason in my head why you want to avoid doing too much of that is if you show everyone going through their own personal hell, that's the worst thing that person's gone through. What the internet will immediately start doing is picking on whoever had the easiest time of it. So you've got Yelena having to deal with like organizing a hit at 10 years old, Bucky being forced to kill people against his will, and then you've got like John getting left by his wife. And it's like, oh yeah, you had a real hard time, didn't you, buddy? And then all of a sudden, a lot of people on the internet become very, oh, you didn't suffer as much as anyone else, which is already a big problem. Whereas I think Yelena and Bob having such similar issues in that they were children in an abusive environment and they coped with alcoholism and drug addiction to like just survive as adults. It made them feel more closely knitted together. I see why you would have liked it, but I do think there was a valid reason to not do it.
See, I think there's more of a reason too, because it's like the bits I loved about that was when Yelena faced hers, and it's like we got to learn more about her. Then she goes into Bob's and helps him face his. You could have not. I'm not saying do it like we just jump between persons' trauma rooms. You could have started with the scene of them walking into the void and they're all like disappearing one by one. Start with Bucky, and like you say, like so what I was kind of leaning on is he's already knows how to handle it. He's put into a room of like an old Winter Soldier thing. He's like, oh, I've already faced this, and he immediately breezes through his room into, say, the agent's room or something, and finds him watching himself, and then he helps him get through his, and then they go into like the Red Guardian's room together, and that builds up to why they're all then together and enter into Bob's room, because that also then helps you connect more with them, strengthening it as a team, because I
don't disagree with you
that they've all gone through the same sorts of trauma in different ways, and they're all going through it together, and then they help each other. I think that would have added a lot more to that team and got everyone way more on board with this whole set of characters.
Yeah, quite possibly. I don't necessarily disagree with you. My issues are issues that I kind of predicted I were going to have. The asterisk was pointless. It was marketing, and I don't want to say this in like a I'm better than you way. It was marketing for the normies. I'm pretty sure my prediction was it was going to be the Dark Avengers. They just went for the New Avengers instead. I'm still not completely sold on the idea they won't become the Dark Avengers. They might become the undercover team for the Avengers once they resolve the issue that was teased at the end, and they become the Dark Avengers as like the covert team. But we knew it was going to be something to do with the team name, and it wasn't going to be like obviously to do with the team name. But you know what I mean? We knew it was never going to be anything more significant than just they don't want to be known as the Thunderbolts.
Well, yeah, and it's like I think my original prediction was just like the asterisk was going to be like for a contract. It's like because the Avengers aren't available. It's like it's basically the same thing. I mean, I wouldn't say I hate it. I get it. Like they're just playing around with this. One, like you say, it's to do marketing, and it's a marketing like tool built into the films, and it's also is just giving them a thing to be able to play around and dance around for longer of who is the next Avengers, because that has been a question since Endgame of and like obviously read in Captain America Brave New World, it was started and we're like, oh, they're going to start building the new Avengers, and everyone for ages has been like, oh well, these new characters are obviously all going to be on it and whatnot. It's just to play into that. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they all end up on the Avengers for like a period. Like there's some shit goes down. They all like, oh, we're all on the Avengers now. Then some of them leave and like maybe they become Dark Avengers or whatever, or some of them go back to being called the Thunderbolts as like I think
realistically, although I'm not happy with what they did, I do think it's probably the best payoff they could have done. I do think they managed to find the best of a bad bunch.
I'm glad they went with it being it's the new Avengers, and now there's a copyright issue with Sam and that, rather than them just going, they're the Avengers. Like, I like the idea that it's all playing into this idea of like trying to brand themselves as superheroes.
Problem is, we know that like the next Avengers film is Doomsday, so it's not like if we didn't know, if we didn't have like as much foresight as what we have coming up, I would love the idea of getting another Civil War. Like, imagine we don't have a roadmap right now. Yeah. All we know is the next film is Fantastic Four. That's all we've got. Imagine the reveal at Comic-Con this year when we find out the next Avengers film is Avengers Civil War. Because there's actually a story there. But instead, we know that realistically we're going to have both these Avengers teams being created, and then they're both going to put aside this beef they have about who the real Avengers are to work together to fight Doom.
Probably eventually. I do think there will still be some head-to-head. And this is going to start jumping into like the end credits and stuff, like you've mentioned of Fantastic Four. But like, I think we're going to end up seeing in Doomsday, the new Avengers are going to think the people on this ship are bad and are going to be trying to make a name for themselves, being like, we're going to save us from whoever these extraterrestrial people are, not believing whatever they have to say. And then it's the actual Avengers are going to be kind of fighting them on this. And then if something's going to happen that then, like you said, they're all going to be on the same side and fighting against Doom.
My other issue was the least surprising death in cinema history. Like, it was just... Do you know what actually made me more annoyed about it? The person sat behind me in the cinema was genuinely shocked. That's
a person that hasn't paid attention to any of the promo or trailers, which I wish I could do.
Like, I heard the gasp behind me, and it took every fibre of my being to not turn around and go, really? Like, did you watch a single trailer? She only appears in this room. She was never getting out of this room. What did you expect?
Do you know what's funny? For a split moment, and like, it was a very, very split moment in my brain, because then I was like, oh, Doomsday. But like, when Yelena walked into the void, and like, the way, I can't remember what her line was before, like, just the way that she sort of kind of was like, almost sold that she was just giving up a little bit.
She was a suicide attempt.
And she just like steps into the void. I was like, have they completely blindsided us with the Taskmaster thing, and this is the actual shocking death? And then my brain went, wait, she's in Doomsday, so something goes on here. And then obviously we find out she's in a room. I was like, oh, okay, this all makes sense. But
yeah, a lot of people were like, oh, Yelena worked out. I was like, no, that was an honest to God suicide attempt. She'd given up.
I think there was maybe some like hope in the back of her mind of like, maybe there is something that this will do. But like, more so, I think her character was probably more thinking somehow maybe she connects with him as she dies.
But yeah,
I
don't think necessarily hope is the right word. I think at best you could say it was, this won't make it any worse.
Yeah.
I loved the shock value of killing the kid after they've done the big save and Red Guardian saves the little girl. And she's like, thank you. And he's like, you're welcome. And then her just disappearing.
Yeah.
Genuine gasp throughout the cinema. It was like the air evacuated the room and everyone was like, that was brilliant.
Oh, to be fair, all the way the void was killing things. And
genuinely terrifying.
At first, when you're like, we have no idea how this is, I was just like, the fuck are they going to do? Like, I genuinely was like, I don't see how they stop this. I was like, let's just hope Bob wakes the fuck up and like has an upper instead of a downer, because that's what he's on. Like, yeah, it was. Sentry as a whole, I think, was sold really well.
They nailed the really good stuff perfectly. Everyone hated being a part of the team. No one wanted to be there. Everyone was just looking out for themselves. They're all selfish assholes.
Yep.
Bucky is trying to follow the rules and get stuff done, realizes he can't, forces these people to give him information. It leads to stuff and it snowballs. It's a proper hero's adventure. And you know what it goes back to? How I was talking about, do you remember Honor Among Thieves, the D&D film?
Yeah.
I was like, the reason that film works, even though the stakes are this is the end of the world, is our heroes don't realise that they are fighting to save the world until they're literally in the final fight.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. They know they're working on something. They don't realise the scale of what they're fighting for until they're literally in the void. And they realise, okay, shit, we need to do this now.
It's not even like they really, for the whole first part of that, they're just like, oh, we've been set up to be like cleaned up by Yelena.
By Val.
Val, sorry. And then it's like, oh, we're pissed off. We're now going to go find out what the fuck. And like, completely unaware that they have this random guy they just found is actually really fucking important. And then no one has any idea that he's then going to go full on evil and end of the world this shit. So like you say, exactly. It's like only when in the last moment do they go, oh shit, we've just accidentally let out someone who should not in them has not got the mental stability to have these sorts of powers, and now I get that no one's here. Like, we got to do something to try and stop this, because
the ragtag team of misfits saving the world only works if they don't realize they're saving the world until literally the end of the film. They can't realize from like imagine if from the vault onwards they knew that, oh my god, we have to stop Bob, he's too dangerous, blah blah blah. It ruins everything because they're thinking, oh, this is the end of the world. That's not what they're thinking at all. They're trying to get out. They think Bob's dead. They're like, we need to get that bitch because she tried to kill us and this is ridiculous. And it kind of builds from there, and that's why it works. It is absolutely one of the best MCU films. The cinematography, the direction, the soundtrack, the acting performances from Florence and Lewis Pullman and Sebastian Stan are all phenomenal. I think this is a sign that the effort and the thought is going back into it. And I think this is the first film we're seeing where the entire production is kind of post where everything went off the rails and they realigned. You remember 18 months, 2 years ago, they were like, we need to reassess what's happening here and work out what we're doing. I feel like this is the first production that everything has really happened after that. So in theory, we should be good now. I am a little bit worried about Doomsday and Secret Wars just because they've had to pivot on them so hard. They might not be able to make it work. But Fantastic Four, Spider-Man Brand New Day, stuff like that. Very confident about. Overall, I think the film's phenomenal.
Oh yeah, I think the film was amazing. They did such a great job with it. It, like you say, it's the first of like Marvel film, I want to say, since like phase 1, where you've gone, oh, this doesn't just feel like cookie cutter MCU film, like same vibe, same whatever. Like, it's got its own personality and artistry to it a little bit.
Some real emotional depth in it as well.
Yeah, and I love that kind of in plain sight, but also sort of hidden a bit. But like, this whole film was just everyone has trauma, everyone has mental health struggles, and everyone does better when you help each other out. Like that was like, for a superhero film, like the message there was all about mental health. They just hid it in superhero with good side, superhero who also has evil side that's kind of a bit based off his mental stability.
Absolutely. My letterboxd review for it was, on your worst day, all you need is a hug from people who care. That is what this film boils down to.
Especially if it's Florence Pugh.
Yeah. So even more so if it's Florence Pugh, in fact. In fact, even on your best day, you need a hug from Florence Pugh.
But like, I loved that they had that messaging in there because a lot of the MCU, like, and we've always said it about comics. A lot of comics, and I hate using this word, but it's the word that will make the most sense with current trends. Comics are woke in the topics that they cover, and that's on purpose. I feel like the films kind of avoided that a lot of the times, at least through the end, like that middle phases.
Superhero stories in general are woke as fuck, with a presence of like propaganda and military industrial complex. When they started becoming films and you need funding to fund all this shit, it has to lean a lot more heavily into the propaganda and military shit because they're the people who write the big checks. So it doesn't make it okay. It doesn't mean they shouldn't have just accepted lower budget and made it work. But what it did mean was, especially as the MCU was getting bigger, the government were writing big checks to go, look, superheroes working with the government isn't bad. And we still managed to get stuff like Civil War sneak through, but it still end up in a place where they don't tackle the important stuff.
This has felt like the first one in a long time where, honestly, kind of the last, like, in my head, obviously Civil War, but like the last MCU film where I'm like, oh, they kind of touched on a more of an actual, like, real life issue. It was like Tony with his alcoholism.
Even then, that was soft as fuck.
It was, but like, they used to do it a bit at the beginning. Then they kind of.
The Black Panther films were pretty good. Yes. They touched on stuff that mattered. I'm going back in there just to see what we've forgotten here, because there can be bad films that try something.
But like, a lot of them, big ones shied away from it. Whereas I think this is them showing that. I think, like you say, with the realignment, I do think we're going to see more of this, where they're like, no, we're going to do what comic book stories do. And like, maybe it's hidden in plain sight, but there is a deep message in these films like there is in comics. And if you want to call it woke, absolutely. Call it woke, because we don't care. But like, overall,
I absolutely agree.
I mean, we saw it from the marketing, and I was kind of hopeful from that, though they were like clearly going a different direction with this. It paid off. It came through. I think that's also shown with how many people have watched this film and gone, I finally actually give a shit about these characters now. Like, I actually care about the MCU again a little bit and what happens to these characters.
I think this film couldn't have landed better. The film was great. So the people who just watch films to like for the art form were happy. The fans who are sometimes a bit picky resonated with it. I think this film came out at the perfect time where not too much in the future is locked in yet.
No.
That allows them to go, right, people liked this. We don't have too much stuff that's locked in. Let's make sure we're remembering this. We're telling stories that people can emotionally resonate with characters that people care about, and actors that believe in what they're doing. And that will come together and create success.
I mean,
and I think this is one of them films where I think Marvel could really learn the right lessons.
Well, I think if anything, it's just going to help cement that they have been making the right decision. Because if you look at Fantastic Four, that has a very unique visual style, and they're clearly going for like a certain like they're doing something different there. Them having the success of this with that next coming out, it's already done. They're like, okay, we've made the right decision here. They're starting to film Doomsday. I presume they're kind of already had this idea to keep going with this. Now they're like, okay, yeah, we definitely need to be leaning this way, all leaning towards this soft reboot that we know is coming. Whether they want to admit it yet or not. But
should we talk about the one thing that did genuinely surprise me, but I'm not angry about?
Go on.
How they came up with the name Thunderbolts.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm not sure if you'll remember us discussing this because it was a while ago. It might have been actually just after Captain America came out that I was first confused. So the Thunderbolts are named after General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. So I was like, oh, I wonder how that's going to work. And then Brand New Day came out. And I was like, oh, maybe the reason they feel the need to change their name is because, he just became the Hulk and they can't be associated with that, which would have made sense. They scrapped any relation of the Thunderbolts to General Ross, who is referred to as Thunderbolt Ross. So it's not like in this universe he doesn't have that nickname.
There is one point where he says, "Go Thunderbolts," and they were like, "You can't be saying that."
Yeah, no, but that's because that was her school team.
Yeah, but I think there was like, whether they didn't outright say it, but I think there was also meant to be that underlying message for the comic book fans that know, that be like, oh, that can also.
I think it was just a case of they're like, we can't be named after her childhood soccer team. And don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed that because the joke was obviously her talking about it in the room as like let's all get to know each other, which was funny. And then later on, Walker just goes, "Go Thunderbolts" as a joke. And then obviously Red Guardian latches onto that and runs with it. That was genuinely surprised me, and I wasn't angry with it because it's like, it became a joke, and then Red Guardian, the weirdest one of them for this, was just like, I'm gonna latch onto that because he loved the Thunderbolts, like when he was the little girls, and it's a team name, and he just wants to be part of the team. But I was like, it was so odd to me that like somehow we've got the Thunderbolts with nothing to do with Ross.
I had a thought about where this team name goes, because obviously we know they're not going to stay the New Avengers.
It's going to be Dark Avengers or West Coast Avengers, is my guess.
Yeah, but what if they do go back to Thunderbolt, because some of them then are under Thunderbolt Ross?
I mean, to be fair, if you wanted to go more to the core of the Thunderbolts, which is like kind of a bit more government ops, you could have them get Ross under control as Red Hulk, they could make him the leader, and then they become the Thunderbolts again. But then you're going to get that confusion of they've made the joke about Thunderbolts being her school team. Why are they now the Thunderbolts again?
Yeah, but they just got to play that joke in. If like one of them is still in the team, they go, "We were already called ourselves this," and he's like, "I don't give a fuck about no softball team or whatever it was." Like,
I don't know, it was just weird, but it worked.
They could weave their way back to it, and it makes sense.
But I thought overall it was good. I know the joke at the beginning was like when the film was announced, it's like all of these characters are like the same characters. They're all just super soldiers. Within the context of the film, makes complete sense. Val was going out there to get people who were enhanced, who weren't good.
Yeah.
To be her
testimonies, as always is the
and
case.
Her agents in the world and shit. Makes complete sense how that team came to be. I know it sounds funny for us to say it because we never sit here and go, it's so over, but we are so back.
Yeah.
This is literally, I'm not saying just remake this film a million times, obviously, but pay attention to what worked here. Characters you can resonate with, good set pieces that make sense, and compelling acting does wonders, as well as a very well written script, in all fairness.
Yeah, and a new, like, letting it have its own unique vibe and artistry to it. Like,
who would have thought people like films that are allowed to feel like an artistic experience?
Yeah. With the whole like super soldier stuff, we haven't talked really about Sentries too much, but that fight scene when like he is revealed as Sentry and his goal is
just dispatches them pretty easily.
I really loved how they put that. Like they did a really good job of putting that together. Of like, because it was quite a long one-er at one point, like one shot where there was just like.
I don't know if it was a real one or if it was a very good cut.
But like, and they did a really good job of showing all his different like powers and moves, and like all in a very short space of time, but then also very visibly showed to the audience of like, they're not beating this guy. Like this guy is like better than every single one of them in their specialities. Like I thought that was a really good, because in just Sentry, you're like, the people that don't know he's going to be the Void or haven't figured that out, like they're just a general person watching, they're like, holy shit, like he's really fucking powerful, and now he's going to be pinned as like this superhero under the like Val's control. This surely won't go wrong. How would anyone stop him if it did go wrong? And then they're like, well, now you're going to see what happens when it goes wrong. And he goes full void and evil, and you're like, oh, this is another level of what you thought he could do.
And on a side tangent to that, which I forgot to mention, the design they went with for the Void.
Oh, I
Chef's
loved
kiss.
how they did the visual effects for him.
They
Like,
just went, he is
just-
just going to literally be a void of darkness with pinpoint eyes.
Just on occasion, like the light glints on his eyes correctly, so you see a little bit more of them. At like the right, obviously
Really
doing.
cool.
They did that at like moments where they needed that kind of a bit more of an emotional like connection to him.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, they did a great job with it. Like the marketing we briefly touched on, that getting rolled out on a Saturday when the film came out Thursday night, Friday.
Mm-hmm. It came out Thursday night into Friday, and by Saturday they were already changing the posters to the new Avengers. Insane.
Wild. Like, I get you have a marketing campaign. Wait for the Monday. Like, I get you're gonna want to roll it out quick. It's part like I can understand the thought process around that marketing. Give it the weekend. Let people have the weekend to go see it.
I almost always get to the cinema the day a Marvel and like big film like that comes out. If for whatever reason I would have been delayed and only been able to go see that on like the bank holiday Monday, and that would have been spoiled for me, I would have been livid.
Well,
and it's not because I particularly care.
I went Sunday night. Obviously, I'm not as fussed about what the asterisk was. I saw that on Twitter and I was like, oh, that's kind of, it's what I expected. Obviously, I didn't know the full context of like how they were doing I was just like, why have they shown that? I've revealed that already.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, it's not a thing I cared about. It didn't affect my enjoyment of the film at all. But if that would have been spoiled for me, I'd have been sat there watching the entire film trying to work out how that all comes together. And that would have ruined my enjoyment of the film, even though not knowing didn't enhance my enjoyment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like when someone says, oh, that film's great, there's a twist in it. I sit there the entire time trying to work out where the twist is going to be, what the twist is going to be. I would spend the entire time going, right, so how are they going to set this up in a way that makes sense, instead of just enjoying the film. I think that was really poor when the marketing for this film had been so good. Like,
you could have like literally
pulling the trigger a bit early on the final bit. Give it a week.
So I get not giving it a week because they've clearly come up with a whole marketing campaign of that poster set up into the Stitch. Have you seen that? Where he's bursting out of the like. So they've obviously just Disney have come up with a marketing campaign for these two films back to back. I get like they have timelines for that stuff, like, but yeah, at least wait till like Monday, so that it has like the week to be the new thing, and then Stitch came in at the end of the week.
But I think spoiling something like that, which is the culmination of the film,
it also shows they didn't feel any weight behind it either.
Yeah, weird, really weird.
Another nitpicky thing that obviously you'd prepared me for was the post-credits thing of being like, don't.
Oh, yeah. I haven't told my story about this. I'll do that in a minute. Yeah.
Do you know what's funny? I haven't told you this. I still managed to spoil it for myself because I was like, credits are rolling. Like, and I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go on my phone or something because like lights are on in the way. I was like, okay, we've had the first one, which was like the usual goofy,
the Wheaties one, which I really enjoyed. I thought that was good.
Yeah, and then it's like I'm just like all the like main credits. I was like, I'm just not gonna read anything because I'm presuming it's a name or like something. Like I was just like, I'm just gonna not even look at the screen properly, not paying attention. I can tell it's getting to the end. I glance and it's the music one, and I see that it's the Fantastic. I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, I've gone through all of that, like avoiding watching, and there is a glance at the end of it, it gets spoiled at the end of it.
So, I love reading the credits. I always try to like remember a name from the credits of a random person who's worked on it. So I'm like, I always read the credits even if I don't remember much, but I always read it because I'm like, you fuckers have worked so hard. Yeah. But I was busting for a piss when the film finished. So I watched the first one. Yeah, I watched the first one. And then I was like, right, we're in the proper credits now. It won't be till the end of this. I've got time to go for a pee. Go for a pee, come back. We're past all of the actors. So I'm like, sweet. Whatever the spoiler is for this next post-credit scene has got to have gone I can read the credits and then like have that weird little thing that I enjoy doing back. So I say to Jen, I was like, oh, we're past the actors now, so it's probably safe for us to look. Reading. Once again, get to the music bit, and I see the Fantastic Four theme, and I literally just go like that. There wasn't even an excitement of all the Fantastic Four. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake.
So I saw that. I was like, oh, well, I know what's coming. I mean, I didn't know. I was presuming we were going to get some clip from from their universe. I will say, because like I've seen some people be annoyed by this post-credit scene, and I get it, and I kind of am a little bit on their side, that it does ruin the outcome of the Fantastic Four film before it's even come out.
Yeah, my prediction of their universe definitely loses and they have to escape is looking very likely.
Yeah. So, obviously, like, very cool. Don't get me wrong. It's like Fantastic Four's here. Like, this is very cool. We get to see that, like, the colliding things. That it's all going to come together. Very cool knowing that's coming. There is copium in me that I'm like, what if that's not the end of their film moment? What if that's like partway through, they get lost here for a bit and then go back? So what if like that is how they do it?
Yeah.
But
my new prediction, because I don't think they would ruin the outcome of the film like that. So my kind of copium but updated prediction is they do a bit of multiverse travel to work out how to beat Galactus, and that triggers an incursion. So then they leave again to find another universe to try and find another Reed Richards or equally intelligent person to try and solve incursions. And that's why they come into our world. So I think they win, but by winning they trigger an incursion. So then they're trying to find other people who can work with Reed to solve incursions.
Yeah, I mean, the hope is that like this is all that credit clip is like halfway through the Fantastic Four film. The sad thing will be is if that is literally as the Fantastic Four film ends, you go, oh, this is what this lines up with the post-credit scene.
Yeah,
like, well,
they're escaping on a ship with a bunch of children, and that's it.
You've just ruined like why like one of the most anticipated films in a while, and then you've gone and done that. Like, there's I just hope I think there has to be, right, that in the Fantastic Four's post credits, surely they're going to do something that teases Doomsday.
Assume so, logically.
My logical thinking is RDJ's known for a while he's going to be playing Doom. They've had that set up for a while before they'd got all these other actors locked in. They very easily will have filmed a little thing with like just showing him in costume, and that will be the tease.
Because we've got Fantastic Four in like 2 months' time.
Yeah.
Then it's Doomsday, Spider-Man, Avengers: Secret War. I think they are our next 4 films.
Unless they slot something in.
Unless there is something in between, something else between Spider-Man and Secret War. I'm pretty sure that's all we've got left until the soft reboot. Kevin Feige himself could agree to a open and honest conversation with me as long as it was NDA'd, and he could tell me they weren't doing a soft reboot, and I still would not believe him. And I'm telling you now, I may become an MCU hater if we get through Doomsday Secret Wars and there is no soft reboot, because then this universe is getting untenable for logic and being followable. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
We will. Overall, was great.
Overall, it was really good. I gave it a 4-star on Letterboxd. I really enjoyed it. If you're someone who like misses MCU films post Endgame, and like after Endgame you struggle to keep up and struggle to really care, you can pick up this film without really needing to know anything, and I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, agreed.